Hi guys! I'm Patricia Liebeck. I'm a Reiki teacher and Reiki practitioner as well as EFT practitioner, and I also work with the aroma touch technique and lots of emotional healing techniques. I'm here at Hollywood Sea Park, which is my favourite spot in Northern Ireland, hands down. And I've been sitting a bit closer to the water for a while, and I've meditated and done a bit of Reiki and just sort of enjoyed that it didn't rain today. Woohoo! One of the few days here in Northern Ireland where it doesn't rain. And I was thinking about when we find ourselves as humans, and especially as healers or therapists, there are quite a few significant events for most people that I've talked to that lead to who we are and who we see ourselves as. And a lot of times, whenever we talk about our significant moments, it's the ones that have made an impact but weren't so pleasant. So maybe some hardships, maybe some difficulties, grief, loss, illness, anything like that has shaped us as a person but wasn't the nicest to experience. And I've had my fair share of those, don't get me wrong, but I've talked to a friend recently and I was thinking, really, those don't really have an impact on me anymore. All the bad stuff, if you want to call it that has happened to me, I've dealt with, and I'm now good and I'm good to move on. But what I've taken from all of it is real love and support and all the blessings that have come with it. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but it's just the truth for me at the moment. And so I was sitting here thinking what one of the most significant moments was in my life, in who I want to become and what I want to do on this earth. And actually it was a really, really happy one, so I would love to share that with you. It was about a year ago, I'd say, that I was thinking of going home to see my grandmother for her birthday. She wasn't quite well and we weren't sure if it was the last one. So I was very emotionally attached to going, and I was really trying to get everything sorted with work and my cat looked after and so on. And my parents were very, very kind to book me a flight from Belfast to London, from London to Luxembourg, and were then going to pick me up and drive me all the way back home to where I live in Germany. And so I got everything ready, I got to the airport, and somehow on the way from Belfast to London, I lost my passport. And don't ask me how. I remember at the Belfast airport zipping my bag up all properly, and it got lost. And up to this day it has not been found, and I have no idea what would have happened to it. But anyway, I lost my passport, I reached London, I ran for my next flight, but because they hadn't checked my passport as it was sort of within the UK as a flight, they didn't believe me that I was and they wouldn't allow me to board the next plane. So I knew that chances are I wasn't going to make it home to my grandma's birthday, and I was really upset about it. So I talked to the lovely people. The guy was Jess at the BA desk, and I don't think I'll ever forget his name. He was such a kind guy. He tried his best. He called Luxembourg, he called the embassy, he tried to smuggle me out of the country. Nothing worked. And I called my dad with a heads up and just went, listen, I lost my passport, I'm really sorry, I don't know what to do, I'm just going to talk to this guy now and they'll sort me out. And I talked to the people at the BA desk and they were really lovely. You know, at the end of the talk, so the whole row of sales assistant or customer service people were involved, rooting for me, cheering me on. It was such a lovely experience, really, really lovely staff and people in general. And anyway, whatever they did, it didn't work out, and I ended up sitting at the BA desk for a rather large amount of time. So when it became clear that they weren't going to let me just go away, I called my dad again, and I was so gutted, as you know, financially it was expensive enough to pay for my flights, but they've already paid 2 flights so I could leave with a shorter time frame and make my work around as well. And I had to tell him that I messed up, and in my head I could hear this little voice of, you know, myself going, how silly am I, how could I lose that, what a horrible daughter am I to not get home, you know, now I'm missing my grandma's birthday, they do so much for me and I can't even make it to the next flight. I had this real shitstorm of ego going on in my head, and I was so scared to call my parents. And when my dad picked up the phone, I told him that I didn't have my passport, I didn't know what happened to it, and I didn't know how I was going to get home. And he didn't shout at me, he didn't bring up money, he wasn't even angry that I miss it. His first words were, "Well, honey, sit down, don't worry, I can meet you in Dover in 5 hours." And it took me a moment to realise that his thought process was not how horribly I messed up. His only thought process was that his daughter was sitting somewhere not knowing how to get home, and within half an hour he had mapped out a route, how to drive from Germany to Dover, take the channel or the boat or whatever, pick me up there, and he'd figured out a connection from the airport to Dover for me. And he was willing to just jump in a car, drop whatever he was doing at home, and come and get me. And at that moment, I actually, like in the airport with everyone around, started crying my heart out. I was just so blessed, because that's the kind of family I have. And I'm just so lucky. You know, growing up, my parents didn't always have most money or the best education or whatever. But they had this lioness love for my sister and me, that whatever happened, whatever needed done, whether they approved of it or not, they would just rise to the occasion and do whatever it took to make my sister and me happy, to protect us. And so I kind of thought about who I want to be as a healer, and I got to this point where I felt like that's my biggest asset, knowing to love that deeply and feel that deeply for everyone around me. So when I see a client, for that moment that we share, I'm so honoured that they come and bring all their sorrows to me, and that they allow me to see their hurt and their pain. But then there's also that part of me that feels my dad's love, my mum's love, my sister's love, and that just looks at this person, no matter how broken they are, and loves them the way I've been taught to love from my family. And I was just sort of sitting here, and yeah, there was a lot of, you know, trouble within the family. I fought my mum and my dad a lot of times. The teenagers weren't the easiest. And, you know, everyone has had their fallouts, but at the end of the day, there is that love that I've never experienced with any other family or any other human being. And it just really made me proud to have come into this family and to have that as my background. Because I know a lot of my healer friends would have maybe grown up in a very spiritual context, or they had parents who've already, you know, been therapists or doctors or whatever. And my parents weren't, but they gave me the biggest gift that I could have ever asked for, and the best preparation for my life purpose. So I just really appreciate my parents today, and I really appreciate my family. And just sitting here made me feel so joyous that I felt like I had to share it with all of you guys. So I guess what I want to give you on your way today is, yeah, there's hard stuff, but we can look at the hard stuff, or we can look at the love that gets us through. And this can be shown by a family, by a friend. I work at Samaritans, which is a hotline for people in distress, also suicidal people, and in a sense, a lot of my friends would have done for me what I provided Samaritans. So whatever that is for you, whatever got you through your challenge, or what is getting you through your challenge at the moment, hold that very dearly to your heart, because it is probably the biggest blessing that I've ever felt in my life. And on that cheesy note, I shall end this little video, but I hope you got something out of it, even if it's just a fun story for me to share how clumsy I am losing things once again. So I wish you a very happy afternoon, and I'm gonna go and enjoy the seaside a little more. Bye!